Welcome to this edition of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle. Before starting exercise, I wanted to discuss a few things. If you've been following me for the past couple months, you know I've taken up the activity of powerlifting. So one day a week, I focus on each of the individual activities. One day a week for deadlift, one for bench press, and one for squat. That leaves me another 4 days in the week for other activities. I like to dedicate one day to what you call accessory exercises, which are resistance exercise that helps to work on the stabilizer muscles for general conditioning, the core and that. Well, the three big lifts are full body exercises, and if you do them with sufficient weight, you'll find that you're pretty tired when you finish the workout. And then the other days, sort of active recovery, maybe going for a walk or a mild cardio workout, maybe like a bicycle ride or a hike. Trying to avoid pushing my muscles too hard because they require some time to recover. You damage muscles in some way when you exercise, and you get stronger because they recover trying to build back up afterwards. So if you exercise too frequently, you never allow that recovery process. Now, each person is different. I don't know if you know, I'm a retired physician, spent the last quarter century working with patients with severe developmental disabilities. And one thing I learned from that is those were incredibly unique people. And I could generalize that really to the whole population, that we each are individual. We have genetics, which came to us from our parents. But then we have a concept called epigenetics, where our genes are modified by our life experience from even before birth up until the current age you are. So that some genes are expressed more or less, somewhat different way, whatever. And so that a problem with medicine is we try and generalize by removing that variation. And one thing I found from my patients in the development disabled world was that people respond differently to different stimuli, different medications react differently, that you really can't generalize across all those variables. So you have to rely on your own experience. So as you are in this process of trying to maintain health or improve how things are going in your senior years, you can study different experts on the internet or journals, try and see what they're uncovering, but then you also have to apply that with your own individual experience. So myself, I consider myself a study with a population of one, me, and trying different things, see how I do. I find if I exercise hard for 3 days a week and take 4 days off, I don't feel very good. I don't feel very good if I take 1 day off. So I have to adapt and find some activity that's not detrimental, but keeps my, who knows what, endorphins or something else going, so that I feel great 7 days a week. Recovery is important, getting adequate sleep, adequate nutrition, going back again. I can't tell you what's the best diet or food choices to make. You kind of have to decide that yourself. If you find that if you eat a lot of sugar, you don't feel very good, maybe cut back on that. If you try and do keto and you just feel awful all the time, maybe not good. I try and think back to my ancestors, going back thousands of years ago, how they ate, and I find I feel pretty good with the balance between carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That I don't really count calories, I just try and follow the scale and how I feel. So enough soapbox for this moment. So again, this is a workout when I'm working on accessory muscles, trying to allow areas of my bodies that are a little bit sore after my 3 hard days. Right now I have an elbow that's a little bit sore, probably from bench pressing. Feel good. I mean, I had a good hard squat day yesterday, so even despite that, my legs feel fine. My flexibility of my shoulders is improved enough to where I can get the bar down to the upper part of my thoracic spine where it's supposed to be, not resting on my cervical spine and neck, and excited about this process. To start, I'm going to take this wooden rod, put it behind my neck like a squat bar. I like to start with this because it feels quite comfortable, it's smooth, it's not heavy, and it helps me open up my shoulders, do some drum twists. And as my shoulders start to loosen, I can roll it down, try and bring my elbows in a little bit, and try and grasp the bar with all my fingers. From here I can do some trunk bends back. Again, just gentle, trying to keep your spine neutral. And from here, I'm going to do the box squat. The idea here is to try and keep the bar centered over my midfoot as I lower down. I'm just starting out, just doing partial squats. Important to breathe during these exercises. Keep your knees tracking over your feet. Trying to avoid collapsing them in or out. And then we'll do two more. And take the bar down. Another dynamic stretch for the shoulders is I can grab the bar with a grip like this. So sort of resting over and put a little bit of torque on that. You might find that doing a similar exercise you have a much greater range of motion. This is one where I'm particularly tight. If you don't have a bar like this, some people will use a golf club because you can grasp the head of the club with this hand and give that a nice stretch. At the end of a workout, you can hold this stretch longer, but I'd avoid doing that early as we're just trying to warm up the muscles at this point, increase that range of motion, getting ready for the rest of our exercises. I'm finding in my journey to powerlifting activity that the squat is by far the most difficult lift that I'm engaging in. It requires so much. In Mr. Schuler's book, he takes at least, about a dozen pages to describe the proper technique for this one lift. It requires strength, incredible balance, perfect form, and a good, strong mental mindset. So I'm going to work on some accessory exercises to improve this, and then get into my strengthening for some squats. It's important to keep since the weight's up high, up on your shoulders, that you maintain a good position on that it stays basically centered over the middle of your foot as you descend and then reascend. It's also complicated in that you have to unrack it and take at least 3 steps to get into a good position, as opposed to deadlift where you just lift the bar up off the floor. So to start, I'm going to continue my warm-up, grab a kettlebell. I'm going to do about 20 swings, just to get my heart rate up, warm up my legs and my hips. And set that down. Continuing on that same idea, going to do a split squat or knee bend, lunge, not full, just warming up hips and knees, and switch sides. Another exercise with our kettlebell. One hand, we'll do a snatch. So we swing between the legs and bring the kettlebell straight overhead and drop it down. And switch hands. Okay. So, check your perceived exertion. Recover your breath. Get a drink of water and come right back. Before moving on to lifting any weight in a squat exercise, I'm going to do a couple more to improve my hip flexibility and warm up my body. Using one of these stability balls pushed against the wall, we can do this is a version of a hack squat where you just lower down. I'm working to try and get my crease in my hip below my knee. That's the range of motion for a legitimate squat. And one more. Turn around, get my feet close to the wall, hands on the wall, sort of shoulder height, and squat from this position. The same idea, working on balance, range of motion. As you're doing this, you want to concentrate that your knees stay over your feet, that your knees don't collapse in or out, which puts undue strain on your knee joint. One of my major limitations on doing a proper squat is some restriction, tightness, lack of flexibility in my shoulders. So to stretch them out and warm them up, I like to take a TRX and just lean my body forward, get a nice stretch. Doing this as a dynamic stretch, so not really holding it at that full extension or flexion in my shoulders, that is. You can bring your arms out to the side, try and loosen up the chest a bit. At the end of the workout, I can do these same stretches, but hold them for 15 to 20 seconds or so. Repeat a few times. Try and get all the muscles and tendons stretched out. I'm going to go back to my kettlebell.
lifted up sort of chest high. We call this a goblet squat. Knees feet comfortable distance apart. Mine a little bit wider than shoulder. Again, we're going to track our knees right over our feet and go into a squat. Again, trying to concentrate on keeping the weight going pretty much vertical, up and down. Take a break, get a drink of water, and we'll move on.
One issue in people who lack flexibility in their hips is tightness in our hip flexors. These are the muscles that lift your leg up. Since we sit so much in our modern life, those muscles have a tendency to get shortened and lack a full range of motion. The one way to stretch these out is what you might call a Bulgarian split squat. You can do these with just your body weight. I have a platform here, which is maybe knee high or so, and the support to help me with balance. Put one leg up, the other in front, and you just do a body weight squat. Trying to hold this down at the bottom a bit. You can try and use this to improve balance, although it is quite challenging. So at least starting off, I'd always have a support out in front. Let me change position. And we'll switch legs. So doing two things, I'm trying to stretch out this hip as well as this one. Trying to get this one down to that magic below my knee crease. Okay. These lifts also require that you have a very strong core. So I dedicate several exercises to that, at least a couple times a week. I like to do my ab work on a platform like this because it allows my feet to go below horizontal, which again is working on those hip flexors, increasing range of motion and strength as well. So just start with some leg lifts, little flutter kicks. I can bring my body up. Oops. Some in and outs. Knee in crunchies. Good to grab a mat and move into a couple of plank type exercises. The standard plank is a good exercise for the core. I like to do them on my elbows, lift my hips up, try and keep my back neutral, and all my core muscles engaged. I find the plank to be a very boring exercise. I think you gain from it holding the plank for a minute or two. Beyond that, not so much. So a progression I like to do is to take a wheel, I roll that wheel, I'm on my knees, and I just forward. So even though that's only a partial plank, the movement requires that I engage my core. If
And it's a very effective and dynamic workout. At this point, I'm going to move into my legitimate squat exercises using a free weight on this rack, hack squat on this machine, and this is a Precor squat machine which helps me get a good range of motion and move a significant amount of weight. These activities are beyond the scope of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle, so I'm going to end the video at this point, and hope you enjoyed this workout. Follow along or engage in your own activity. After I lift, I'm going to do about 20 minutes on a stationary bicycle, not very high intensity. Try and keep it in that zone 2, which is a heart rate for me between 100 and 105 or so, where I can continue to talk. I'm not breathing too hard, but just to increase circulation into those leg muscles and throughout my body, removing lactic acid and all those other byproducts of lifting. Hope you enjoyed this, and hope to see you next time.